Shocking discovery. Soldier and K9 uncover the incredible truth behind a little girl's silent suffering. Jake stood at the edge of the familiar woods, the air thick with memories that felt all too foreign. The once comforting path twisted around him like the war stories he had buried deep. Each step echoed with the ghosts of his past, the laughter of children now replaced by haunting silence. With Max, his steadfast K9 partner, by his side, Jake felt a heavy weight in his chest, a mix of nostalgia and disquiet. Shadows loomed around him, reminders of a life where chaos once ruled. How was he supposed to reconcile with this town that felt so much like home yet entirely estranged? Determined to reclaim his purpose, he had thrown himself into training Max. The dog was a gift from a fellow soldier, a connection to a life Jake longed to understand again. But as they roamed the woods, a sense of dread stirred within him, the fear that perhaps even now, the fight within would never really fade. What if he could never escape the darkness that followed him? Their exploration took a sudden turn when Max bolted ahead, nose buried in the ground. Jake's heart raced as he called out, wondering what his loyal companion had unearthed. The object that emerged was a small, ornate locket, caked in dirt and mud. He opened it, and the photo inside revealed a little girl's beaming smile. The name etched on the back sent a chill through his spine, Emily. That name whispered across the town like smoke on a breeze, igniting a story he had never known. Even as adrenaline surged through him, doubt gnawed at Jake. Could he dive into the depths of this mystery? The military had taught him to confront fear head-on, yet, facing the pain of a child's absence felt eerie. His gut twisted, an unsettling mix of determination and profound sorrow began to bubble within. He was a soldier, not a detective. Could he even handle the truth of what had happened to Emily? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. He pressed on. The discovery ignited an urgency to seek the truth, a chance to unravel the despair woven through the town, but an inner voice whispered doubts. What if the revelations crushed him? Could he bear to confront the darker corners of this community? And as he walked through town, encountering absent glances and closed-off conversations, a growing sense of isolation tightened around him. Each interaction seemed tainted, filled with unspoken secrets. The more Jake uncovered about Emily, the more the weight of the town's indifference bore down on him. He felt a boiling frustration, a fight igniting in his chest that mirrored the wars he had fought. The complexity of others' pain haunted him with every step. Knowing he had faced bullets and violence, yet crumbling at the thought of connecting with Emily's family felt like a betrayal. Could he protect Emily's memory while avoiding the ache of vulnerability? Before his thoughts could spiral further, he saw the weary face of Emily's mother at the market, surrounded by exhaustion and resignation. Could he muster the courage to connect with her, to bear witness to their struggle, when he himself struggled to find his grounding? As tension thickened in his chest, he realized the intertwining web of judgment and compassion was tightening around him. The truth about Emily's life felt like a raw nerve, soaking deeper into his own fractured spirit. Max sensed his agitation, nudging him, yet Jake was torn. He stood at the precipice of an emotional storm, knowing he was step closer to a crossroads that could challenge his very notion of healing. Jake's heart pounded in his chest as he took a hesitant step towards Emily's mother. The woman was picking through a box of bruised fruit, her fingers moving mechanically. He felt Max tugging gently at his belt, urging him forward, perhaps sensing the turmoil within his human. Each step felt monumental, burdened by the weight of unasked questions and unshared grief. What could he offer her? A soldier who had faced the worst of human atrocities, now standing at the crossroads of sorrow, his own heart heavy with unfamiliar empathy, he felt like an outsider in a world he desperately wanted to understand. "Excuse me," Jake ventured, his voice cracking slightly. Emily's mother turned, her weary eyes reflecting years of battle against an unseen enemy. The moment lingered, a suspended breath before the plunge into the depths of pain. "I found something," he stammered, holding the locket slightly behind him, uncertain of how to present a fragment of innocence amid such loss. It belonged to Emily. A flicker of recognition sparked within her eyes, yet it was quickly overshadowed by a wave of sorrow. She inhaled sharply and soon composed herself, drawing on whatever strength remained in her. "You found it?" she whispered, the words almost a prayer. Jake nodded, but words fled him. Deep beneath the surface, he felt an urgency building, a need to bridge the gap of silence that had marred their lives. He thought of his own past, of the friendships he had forged and the battles he had fought. Something stirred within him, he needed to connect. I'm Jake. I'm back in town after a while. I just wanted to know more about Emily," he admitted, the acceptance of vulnerability mingling with his instincts honed from combat training. It was foreign territory, yet exhilarating. Emily's mother stood straighter, her eyes softening slightly, but doubt etched across her features. "Why would you want to know?" "It was a long time ago," she replied, but there was an unmistakable yearning in her tone. "There are stories that need to be told," he responded, that fighter spirit igniting once more. Maybe she deserves to be remembered." The truth of that statement hung between them, and for the briefest moment, they shared an unspoken understanding, a mutual acknowledgement of grief transformed into a collective mission. Yet, as emotion surged, Jake grappled internally. What was he willing to risk in this emotional pursuit? The weight of Emily's absence reached into his own spirit, igniting a response deep within him, yet exposing him to the peril of emotional vulnerability. As they exchanged fragments of memories and glances, Jake took a deep breath, pushing through layers of his own guarded heart. "Can we talk about her? Anything, I want to help." A flicker of hope ignited in Emily's mother's eyes. "Talking won't change what happened. But it might help." That admission shattered something within Jake. He desperately wanted to carry that burden with her, to embrace healing as a shared endeavor. As their conversation unfolded, revealing a tapestry of recollections and heartache, he felt waves of determination swell within him. But lurking beneath, a dark shadow whispered reminders of unhealed wounds and the toll of vulnerability. The closer he got to Emily's story, the more danger loomed. Could he protect both her memory and his own bruised spirit? Should he dare step too close to that emotional flame? As he prepared to delve deeper, a thought flashed in Jake's mind: the path he had chosen was not without consequence. This journey toward healing wasn't merely about uncovering a lost story, it was a reckoning. Across town, whispers grew more pronounced, and in the back of his mind, he felt the unyielding pressure of dread. The time had come to face not only his internal struggles but also the unanswered questions haunting this community. Tomorrow, he would confront the town's silence and perhaps, in doing so, awaken shadows best left buried. Jake awoke the next morning with the sun reluctantly breaking through the drawn curtains. The memory of yesterday's conversation resonated in his mind, stirring a mix of trepidation and determination. He replayed the mother's borrowed hope in his thoughts, a stark contrast to the oppressive silence that surrounded their shared grief. His breath quickened with an urgency that ignited his resolve. He couldn't let that warmth be extinguished. Every undercurrent of their conversation revealed his own buried struggle, one that mirrored their search for truth amid despair. With renewed purpose, he decided it was time to collect more than memories. He had to confront the town, their resilience, and the haunting quiet that masked its realities. After a hasty shower and breakfast, he grabbed his keys and Max's leash, feeling a sense of clarity wash over him. They would start at the local diner, a hub for residents that served as both a coffee spot and a communal space where stories flourished amid the clatter of plates. As he strode into the diner, a familiar sense of unease curled around him, echoes of camaraderie starkly replaced by the weight of lingering questions. He noticed the regulars pausing their conversations upon his entry, eyes narrowing with covert scrutiny. This was a town that thrived on whispers, and he was a foreign entity, a soldier who returned not for celebration but to unearth buried truths. Coffee? The server's tone was flat, almost wary as he placed his order. Jake nodded, scanning the room for a familiar face, someone who might be willing to share any story. An elderly man sitting alone in a booth caught his attention. Jake approached, sensing the gravity of speculation that veiled the air. They exchanged pleasantries, and Jake segued awkwardly into his intent. "Do you remember Emily? The girl who went missing?" At the mention of her name, the man's shoulders slumped as though a weight pressed down, and he nodded slowly. "There are things that happened after, son. Things people don't talk about." His eyes darted around the diner, caution radiated from him. Jake felt a twist of frustration stoke the fire within. Why not? There's no healing without confronting the truth. Isn't it time to let it out? The man frowned but leaned closer. Some things were buried for a reason. They only bring pain, and pain it spreads like wildfire. As he shared snippets of Emily's story, Jake sensed an underlying tension, like a coil wound too tightly. The words were reluctant, filled with fears not merely of recalling events, but of reigniting forgotten horrors. Each revelation pulled at the seams of Jake's conviction. Was he prepared for what dangers lay in the wake of this pursuit? Fighting against mounting anxiety, he pressed on. But she deserves to be remembered. We owe it to her. The determination in his voice seemed to echo through the diner, drawing glances from others, igniting curiosity beneath their defensive facades. Yet, as the old man's stories morphed into whispers about the town's capacity for denial, Jake felt an unsettling realization dawn on him. This wasn't just about a girl who had vanished, it was entangled in the unspoken fears of those who remained, fears they had shielded themselves from by silencing the past. Jake left the diner with more questions than answers. The day hung heavy with the weight of unexamined truths that now loomed like shadows along his path. His heart raced, he was teetering on the edge of discovery, dancing perilously close to the edges of a history that threatened to swallow him whole. Max by his side, Jake breathed deep, steeling himself. The darkness was awakening, and he wasn't just facing the town's shadows, he was confronting the ghosts of his own decisions from the past. Walking away from the diner, he questioned his resolve to delve deeper. With every step, he understood that unearthing Emily's truth could very well unravel his own. Tomorrow, he would have to face not just the whispers but the unshakable resistance that had kept the town captive. Would he find the strength to uncover what lay beneath, or would he too choose to turn away? Jake's footsteps quickened as he made his way down the worn paths that crisscrossed the town, each step reverberating with both purpose and doubt. The lingering tension from the diner enveloped him like a shroud, sharpening his senses. Every glance from neighbors felt like a challenge, an invitation to probe deeper into secrets they'd rather let lie. He paused for a moment, eyeing the fading paint of an old storefront. Memories flickered through his mind, childhood innocence ripped away too soon, friends who had moved on, and now, this echoed silence surrounding Emily's disappearance, a wound that never healed. Gripping Max's leash tighter, he asked himself if he was truly prepared for this endeavor. Was he ready to unearth the anguish lurking just beneath the surface? His first stop was the library, a dusty haven he had spent countless hours in as a kid. The librarian, Miss Clara, was a gatekeeper of town history and a keeper of stories. Approaching her desk, he noticed a flicker of recognition in her eyes, but also a flash of caution as she processed his presence there today. "Jake," she said slowly, "I didn't expect to see you back." "Miss Clara," he replied, forcing a casual tone, "I'm looking for anything on Emily Gibson. I know there's more to her story." Her body stiffened slightly, brows knitting together as if the very mention of the name conjured a specter she would rather ignore. "There are things better left undisturbed," she warned gently. "Please, I need to understand. I can't turn away now." The urgency in his voice felt almost foreign, a stark contrast to the uncertainty that clouded his mind. Ms. Clara regarded him with a penetrating gaze, searching for signs of his resolve. After a moment's hesitation, she sighed and gestured toward the back of the library. There might be a few old articles tucked away in the archives. But be prepared, she cautioned, some memories carry a weight that can crush. Pushing through the heavy wooden door at the back, Jake squinted at the dim light filtering through dusty windows. The room felt dense with history, each article and yellowed page a testament to time itself. He began rifling through brittle newspapers, the yellowed edges crumbling slightly under his fingers. Stories of the past bubbled up like devilish whispers, tragedy painted against the backdrop of a seemingly quaint town. As he turned a page, his heart skipped. There it was, a newspaper clipping detailing Emily's disappearance alongside a photo that had haunted him. Next to it, he found another piece that sent chills down his spine, a report on strange happenings in the area around the time she vanished. Murmurs of whispers and flickering lights in the woods, and a mention of an unexplained figure seen near her school. The mention of the figure felt like a knife twisting within him, an unsettling suggestion that maybe, just maybe, the town had buried more than just Emily's fate. He leaned closer, scrutinizing the details, his mind racing with possibilities. Each new line he read began dismantling his previously simplistic perception of events, unraveling a wider, murkier truth. "Are you all right, Jake?" Ms. Clara's voice interrupted his reverie, pulling him back from the edge of revelations that could reshape everything. I think I've found something." The tremor in his voice surprised him. As he recounted the details of the articles, he noticed a subtle shift in her demeanor, as if she was weighing the gravity of what lay ahead. "There are always things hidden beneath the surface," she murmured cryptically, eyes shifting away. Jake felt an unsettling realization crystallize within him. This was not merely about seeking closure for Emily, it was a reckoning with the town's collective consciousness, an awakening from the numbness forged by years of avoidance. As he stepped outside, the weight of the encounter settled heavily on his shoulders. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting an orange glow that felt both ominous and illuminating. He sensed that every corner of this town had eyes, each watching and judging as he began to unearth what lay buried. Tomorrow, he would confront not just the stories he'd uncovered but also the undeniable truth that the town was not ready to face. Would he muster the courage to probe further, or would fear seal their collective fate? The morning air was thick with anxiety as Jake set out, determination coursing through his veins. He inhaled sharply, the chill of dawn sharpening his focus. Max trotted beside him, unaware of the emotional turmoil writhing in his owner's heart. Each step towards his destination felt heavier. They were not just steps to unearth Emily's story, but steps toward a reckoning that haunted him. He made his way to the school, the site of so many memories, both tragic and joyful. The building stood prominent against the sky, its brick facade feeling like a fortress against the town's past. As he pushed open the gate, he noticed the swing set, its chains rusted but still creaking in the morning breeze, a quiet reminder of innocence lost. Jake's heart tugged at the thought of Emily laughing under the sun, her absence palpable. He walked the familiar paths, each one ingrained with fragments of laughter, lessons, and heartaches. But today, he was not here for nostalgia, he was here to probe secrets buried beneath laughter and innocence. He could feel their weight bearing down on him, pressing him deeper into his own resolve. The silence of the empty playground served as a stark backdrop for his internal battle. Should he continue this search? What if he exposed truths that could hurt more than they healed? Yet, if he didn't pursue these truths, would he be complicit in allowing the town to bury the past? This dilemma had morphed into a palpable anxiety, gnawing at him through the morning. Each question he posed felt like the wind whispering to him, echoing with Emily's ghost. He found himself wandering into the school's office, scanning the room as he took stock of everything: the receptionist's desk, the bulletin board still plastered with rules about safety, and a faint smell of paper and dust. Then his gaze locked onto a file cabinet in the corner. Emily's records could be pulled from there, he thought, a direct line to her past. After brief hesitation, Jake approached the cabinet, heart pounding as he fumbled with the cold metal handle. He flipped through the files, each one a testament to innocence and hope, until a name caught his eye: Emily Gibson. His breath hitched, lingering undeniably on that one name. The energy in the room shifted, the air seemed charged with anxiety. As he yanked the file open, the narrative unfolding became serious. Inclusions of reports regarding Emily's behavioral changes during her last weeks at school painted a deeply troubling picture. Statements from teachers hinted at a shift in her demeanor, whispering of fears that had no words. Memories of the woods, flickering shadows, and cryptic warnings slipped into his mind, overwhelming him. How had he never noticed the signs back then? The file fell open to a page filled with drawings Emily had made, twisted, dark lines shaped as dark figures in the woods, the expressions on the faces of those figures hauntingly poignant. They were the echoes of a frightened child's reality, and their meanings were vibrating with fear and confusion. Amidst his discovery, a square card slipped from the folder and fluttered to the ground. It was an invitation to a sleepover at a friend's house, a moment that could have been ordinary but now stood charged with a finality that the innocence of childhood could not escape. What had happened on that night? What had Emily sensed that went unaddressed, the layers of fear and dread meticulously woven into her life? Jake's heart raced as he reattached the folder, desperation igniting a revelation within him. He realized that he couldn't simply excavate the secrets, he had to make connections, face the darkness proactively, and not allow it to keep feasting on the town's silence. With new resolve, he reached for his phone to call Emily's best friend, a name that surfaced in the notes but one he hadn't expected to reach. As the line rang, Jake's mind became a battlefield of questions. Would she be willing to talk? Would she share what she knew? He steadied his breath, noting the courage blossoming within him that had once felt like a thin filament, now a tight cord of determination. The time had come to face the shadows that had lingered in the fringes for too long. The call connected. Her voice came through, tentative yet familiar, and he could sense the unease balancing on the edge of his inquiry. "I need your help," he began, his voice steadying. "It's about Emily." Outside, the wind howled as if to echo the impending storm of revelations, leaving Jake hanging in a moment poised between dread and hope. Would this be the moment when everything unraveled, or was he stirring a tempest that would consume them all? As the echo of her voice faded, Jake felt a rush of adrenaline coursing through him. Emily's best friend, Mia, known for her spirited nature, had always been a beacon of light during their childhood. Yet, even through the phone, he could hear the shadows that had crept into her tone, masking her vulnerability. "What do you want to know?" she asked, a quiet defensiveness surfacing in her words, laced with a mingled sense of distrust and fragile hope. Jake swallowed hard, grappling with the gravity of the conversation. "I've been looking into Emily's past, her last days," he stated, carefully choosing each word. "I found some notes about her changes in her behavior and I need your perspective. I think there's more to it." Mia hesitated, the silence stretching between them like a taut wire ready to snap. Jake sensed the weight of old memories pushing down on her. Finally, she replied, "I don't know if I want to go back there." "It's not just about the past, Mia," Jake urged, his voice gaining conviction. "We owe it to her. Whatever happened needs to come to light. Please." In that moment, he realized this wasn't just a quest for information, it was an appeal for closure, healing, and perhaps even redemption for both of them. He could feel the pain of their shared history vibrating beneath the surface, manifesting in unspoken words. "I remember her drawings," Mia finally said, her voice trembling. "They were different. Creepy, really. But I thought that's just what kids did sometimes. I didn't fully grasp what was going on. I was too young to understand." Each revelation twisted the knife of regret deeper into Jake's chest. The innocent laughter of those days faded into the background, and the darkness they now unearthed submerged him in sorrow. "What disturbed you the most? Did she say anything that night before the sleepover? Anything that struck you as odd? Mia's pause was poignant, filled with looming uncertainty. She asked me if I believed in shadows. I thought she was being silly. We were kids, after all. But there was an urgency in her voice that unsettled me. I brushed it aside. I didn't know. Shadows. As this word rippled through Jake's mind, he recalled the cryptic warnings from those around them, the adults, the whispers, and the unspoken corners of the woods, a web of secrets woven tightly beneath their innocence. In that instant, he felt tentative threads of determination anchor him deeper into their inquiry. If there was a shadow, it was time to confront it. Did she show you any of her drawings? He pressed, pursuing that thread, suspending the hope that shimmered on the horizon of dark memories. Yes, Mia whispered, almost shyly. She showed me once. It was of a dark figure under a tree. I remember asking her what it was, and she just said, "They watch us." I thought it was just a figment of her imagination. He felt the world around him grow silent, as if the weight of their past shut in like the walls of a tomb. Mia, we can't ignore this. Our childhood dreams shaped by innocence can't trap us in silence forever. If there is something sinister at play, we need to reveal it. To find peace for her. Mia's breath hitched on the other end. What do you plan to do? I want us to face it, together, Jake replied, galvanized by newfound purpose. It's time to unearth the secrets we buried with her. He could feel the tremor of his resolve rattling through the phone, could sense her trepidation brimming just beneath the surface of compliance. He hoped it would spark something decisive within her, resolved to stand with him against the darkness once more. Okay, Mia finally said, her resolve trickling through the uncertainty. Let us find out what really happened. As they wrapped the call, a calm descended in Jake's heart, only to be disrupted by a sharp pang of realization. The darkest clouds of revelation loomed ever closer, waiting to descend. This was merely the beginning of a relentless exploration through the shadows, each revelation potentially darker than the last. But with every step, Jake's awareness deepened, the threads of destiny interweaving with newfound clarity. He would confront the shadows, no matter the cost. As he hung up, his insides churned with the blend of dread and fortitude. What other secrets lay hidden beneath the surface? With the thought nagging at him like a relentless whisper, he knew he had no choice but to pursue his path into the unknown. With Max by his side, he set off toward the woods that had loomed ominously in Emily's drawings, the very heart of her fears. What awaited him there? Would it be salvation or despair? The truth beckoned him to act, and he couldn't step back now. As he entered the woods, the path ahead twisted into a darkness that felt almost alive, each rustle of leaves echoing with questions yet to be uncovered. Jake pressed forward into the underbrush, determination firing through his veins. The shadows of the trees loomed like sentinels, watching as he navigated the terrain that felt both eerily familiar and entirely foreign. Memories crowded his mind, giddy laughter, whispered secrets shared beneath the stars, and, intertwined with those sweet recollections, a suffocating unease. He inwardly wrestled with the mounting dread pulling at his heart. Max, his loyal companion, moved beside him, guiding Jake with instinctual precision. The dog's acute senses seemed tuned into something intangible, perhaps sensing the very vibrations of the past buried beneath their feet. As if their shared purpose had become a tangible thread woven between the two, Jake couldn't help but feel a powerful bond had formed. This journey was far bigger than either of them. Each footfall on the damp earth brought new questions crashing against the confines of his mind. What truths would he uncover? Would bringing the hidden to light bring Emily the justice she never received? Or would it shatter the fragile peace he had constructed on the facade of forgetfulness? It was a moral quagmire reaching deep into his sense of self-worth, forcing him to confront aspects of himself he had long cast aside. A flicker of movement caught Jake's eye. He stopped, heart racing, suddenly attuned to the silence that enveloped the woods. What had felt alive moments before, now held a heavy stillness, as if the forest itself were waiting. He scanned the environment, again feeling the weight of those childhood shadows upon him. "This is it," he whispered to Max, as clarity began to strike. "This is where it happened." The deepening shadows felt like a mantle, wrapping around him, and with it, memories flooded back, hushed conversations about what lurked in the woods, murmurs about a creature of the night. Delving into this environment meant facing not only his past but unearthing the lessons hidden within it. "Let us find those drawings," he said, barely recognizing his own voice. The memory surged with urgency now, but it was more than just the need for answers. It was a call to prove to himself that he could confront his fears, that he wasn't just chasing phantoms. As they knelt beside a gnarled tree that Emily had drawn, the bark seemed to tell its own story in its twisted contours. Jake placed his hand against the trunk, feeling the texture of time. How many times had they played here? To him, it was a place of joy. Now it felt laden with ominous weight. "Show me, boy," Jake urged. Max sniffed the root system, growing more alert, baring his teeth at nothing, yet conveying a sense of urgency. "What is it?" Jake recalled Emily's words, "They watch us." A shiver ran down his spine, realizing perhaps she had seen something he hadn't, something or someone hiding in plain sight. Fueled by a cocktail of fear and determination, he committed to unearth what was hidden in the soil of not just this place, but within himself. "No more running from the dark," he reaffirmed softly, a mantra rising from within. He needed to shed the layers of self-doubt, the fear of confronting truths that could shatter lives his or others. Before Jake could dwell on his thoughts much longer, a distinct sound echoed from deeper within the woods, piercing through the silence. It was faint, but there was a rhythm to it. A heartbeat, almost. That sound compelled him forward, each step brimming with tension as the reality of what lay ahead manufactured an insatiable fear within him. "Stay close," he commanded Max, who immediately positioned himself at Jake's side, nearly a shield against the unknown. Moving through the underbrush, a resurgence of adrenaline coursed through him. Nothing would deter him now, he could feel the crucial pieces of this puzzle starting to align. As they maneuvered deeper into the trees, Jake's instincts pulsed wildly. He was embroiled in a mental storm of resilience and trepidation. Was he prepared to unveil the ugly truths of their past? Just as they reached a clearing, an unsettling rustling emerged from beyond a dense thicket, and the hairs on Jake's arms stood on end. The revelation was looming, but was he ready to face whatever had been lying in wait? In that moment of heightened anticipation, Jake's heart raced faster than he could breathe. The secrets they had buried were about to claw their way back into consciousness, and the results of their unveiling remained tantalizingly out of reach. Jake hesitated at the edge of the clearing, the rustling growing louder, echoing the chaos within his mind. What lay beyond the thicket? An answer or another unanswered question? The heartbeat he had sensed moments ago merged with his own, quickening, and he felt the urgency pushing him forward, despite the churning anxiety nestled within his chest. "Let us go," he whispered to Max, who seemed to share his apprehension. They stepped cautiously into the clearing, the air thick with tension. Sunlight dappled the ground, illuminating patches of wildflowers, remnants of beauty in a place steeped in darker memories. As they ventured deeper, Jake's thoughts spiraled. He was no longer just searching for close-held truths, he was probing the very depths of his courage. Could he accept what lay hidden? Did he have the strength to confront the past he had tried so desperately to bury? His hands trembled slightly as he navigated the terrain he once thought was simple play. Now, it felt like an obstacle course fraught with peril and possibility. Then, from the other side of the clearing, a vibrant flash of color caught his eye. It was a piece of paper, crumpled but unmistakably familiar, a drawing. Memories of Emily's innocent yet haunting patterns flooded back to him, wrapping around his heart like a vice. Jake rushed over, a mixture of excitement and dread jangling in his limbs. He crouched down, his heart pounding as he unfolded the paper. The crude lines formed a landscape he recognized all too well, the gnarled trees, the sun catching just right through the leaves, and there, amidst the sketches, a figure, the silhouette of a shadow crouching beneath the thick brush. It sent a shiver down his spine. Had Emily sensed something that he had missed? Was this a glimpse of the thing they had feared but never seen? Max sniffed around the area, his alert demeanor contrasting starkly with Jake's consuming fear. "What else did you find, boy?" Jake asked, half to himself and half to his companion. As if answering his question, Max made a beeline for a nearby cluster of bushes, pawing furiously at the undergrowth. The rustling intensified, and for a heartbeat, time froze. Jake's instincts kicked in. This was more than a search for personal resolution, it was a pursuit of justice, of truth. Whatever hidden secrets lay buried here, they were waiting for him to uncover them. He had to change his approach. It wasn't just about confronting his past, it was about honoring Emily. "Stay," he said firmly to Max, who obeyed, his eyes fixed on Jake. With a deep breath, Jake navigated the bushes, his heart racing with purpose. Adrenaline flooded his system, and as he peeled back the branches, he glimpsed something unnatural. A glint of silver caught the fading light. What he first thought was an odd reflection turned heavy in his gut. It wasn't just an artifact, it was something significant, and with each inch gained, he felt his purpose strengthening. Each step was a swing of his mental pendulum between fear and resolve. He had arrived on the precipice of something much bigger than himself. With one quick motion, he pulled aside the last of the vines and gasped. What lay before him was nothing he had anticipated: an old, weathered box, bound with rusting chains. There were carvings on its surface, images eerily akin to Emily's drawings. In that moment, Jake faced another crossroads within himself. The box represented the dual conflict at play, the desire for discovery and the fear of what it might reveal. Would he dare to open it and face the demons lurking within? It was an embrace of responsibility grounded in the past, and in unearthing it, he could risk shattering everything he had built in his life. He reached for the latch, taking one last glance at Max, who was watching him intently, and Jake's resolve solidified. It was now or never. The journey ahead was paved with shadows, but he was ready to take that leap, to confront the legacy of what had happened, and perhaps, to redefine who he was meant to be. As he lifted the cover, a cloud of dust enveloped him. What he found inside would test and ultimately reshape everything he believed. Was it merely a box, or was it the catalyst for his redemption? With a jolt, the air around him seemed to thicken. The heartbeat had returned, echoing the pulse of the forest. What stood before him was not only an artifact of the past but a pathway to reclaiming a future he feared had been lost forever. Jake took a moment to steady himself as the box creaked open, releasing a musty odor that filled the clearing. The sight inside was a mosaic of memories, objects intertwined with their history and heavy with implication. Nestled within the folds of decaying fabric and brittle paper lay a collection of items that pulsed with their own stories: a faded photograph, a small, rusted locket, and a tattered journal. He plucked the journal from the depths of the box, its spine cracked, yet the weight of it felt alive in his hands. This was tangible evidence of Emily's world, her unvoiced fears and dreams captured in ink. Each page could unravel the silent scream of a girl whose innocence had been abruptly stripped away. With a deep breath, Jake opened the journal, the pages crackling as he turned them. The first entry was dated just days before everything changed. He reread it, his heart tightening as he absorbed her childlike worries and joys. But as he progressed through the entries, the tone shifted, taking on a foreboding undercurrent. There were mentions of strange noises late at night, odd shadows dancing outside her window, observations that at the time seemed dismissed, but now felt prophetic. He could feel his own fear morphing into determination. Each line pulled him deeper into the understanding that Emily had not simply vanished, she had been watching, waiting, and entangling herself in this web that he had dared not explore. Guilt washed over him. He had allowed his own ignorance to keep him from acknowledging the signs she had been so clearly sending out. Jake was steeling himself to continue when he caught movement out of the corner of his eye. Max was staring intently into the depth of the underbrush, his posture alert. A chill leapt up Jake's spine. The unease that had been simmering within him erupted. What else had Emily sensed? What more was lurking in the shadows? His instincts warred within him, pulling him toward the need for answers and pushing him to retreat back into safety. But he was done running, done ignoring the reality woven through the remnants of his memories. "Max, let's check it out," he said, his voice steadier than he felt. He left the journal, tethering his current reality with the past he sought to reclaim. As they moved closer to the edge of the clearing, Jake's mind raced with possibilities and scenarios of what could be hidden there. A confrontation with a childhood nightmare? The echo of a long-forgotten truth? The tension in the air shifted palpably, and with each step Jake's resolve solidified, flipping through the pages of his memories where courage intertwined with fear. The thought of failing Emily again struck him hard, an anchor that pulled at his heart. In the underbrush, Max prodded at something partially obscured by fallen leaves. Jake knelt beside him, parting the foliage, and uncovered what looked unmistakably like another locket. It was engraved, vibrant ruby peeking through the tarnished silver. His breath caught. This was no ordinary trinket, it was a piece of Emily, a connection that felt almost sacred. Yet before he could grasp the implications, the sound of footsteps raised the hairs on the back of his neck. Someone was approaching. With a quick glance at Max, he steadied himself for whatever would unfold. They had uncovered secrets long buried, but now those secrets threatened to rear up and expose not just the past Emily faced, but the unraveling of Jake himself. The time had come to confront not just the memories, but also the people entangled within them. Would he stand firm in this confrontation, or would he falter once again in fear? A figure emerged from the shadows, cloaked in uncertainty. With no way back, Jake felt the weight of his resolve become a tangible force within him. The moment of truth had arrived. Jake's heart raced as he stood rooted in the clearing. The figure stepping closer gradually came into focus, revealing a woman he recognized: Mia, Emily's childhood friend. Her face reflected the complexities of their shared past, an amalgamation of sadness, fear, and now unexpected resolve. As she approached, Jake saw a determination in her eyes that mirrored his own. "Mia, he began, his voice faltering as memories of their childhood rushed back. What would they confront together? With a deep breath, Mia interrupted, "You found it," gesturing to the box on the ground. "You're really doing this?" Her tone blended concern and admiration, underscoring the leap they were about to take into the unknown. "Emily's stories must be told," Jake affirmed, steeling himself. "I need to know everything, what you felt back then, what she confided in you. I can't leave any stone unturned." Mia nodded, her body tense but her posture firm, a silent agreement forging a newfound alliance. The shadows that had once ensnared them now seemed lighter, emboldening them both to face whatever truths lay ahead. Jake motioned toward the locket partially buried in the leaves, the glint of the ruby catching the fading sunlight. "This could be part of her story," he said, his voice thick with purpose. "Maybe it belonged to her, or it has some significance we didn't understand as kids." Mia stepped closer, her gaze fixated on the trinket. "It looks familiar. I think it was a friendship locket she had before everything went dark." The words hung heavily between them. "Did you ever see her wearing it?" Jake asked, the urgency in his voice flaring. Mia's brow furrowed. "I remember a day she seemed really excited about it. I think she was going to wear it the night of the sleepover." A wave of realization crashed over Jake. That night. It's all connected. As they knelt in the clearing, the weight of Emily's disappearance thickened. Memories of their shared childhood came flooding back, innocent laughter fading into the echoing silence of loss. Jake felt the chill of shadows pressing against the edges of his resolve, urging him to hesitate, but he refused to let them win. "We owe it to her, Mia," he said fiercely. "Let us piece this together." Taking the locket into his palm, Jake felt an unexpected warmth pulse through the cool metal against his skin, a tether to Emily, urging him forward. It was a promise that his fears would not hinder the pursuit of truth and clarity. He had fought too long against his own darkness to cower now. With their shared scars exposed, Jake and Mia began to sift through the items in the box, unfurling a collection of Emily's drawings, notes, and captures of her innocent spirit. Each fragment provided insight into a girl who had seen more than she should have, more than any child should bear. They traced her emotions through ink and color, recognizing the pain hidden within each stroke of her crayon. This one, Mia pointed, a drawing portraying a tree with dark, twisted limbs. This haunted Emily. She said once that it was where she thought she sensed something watching her. Jake's breath caught in his throat. Then we're back where we started, the woods. The point of fear was real. But how do we confront what's hidden? Mia asked, vulnerability creeping back into her tone. It has to be addressed, openly, Jake implored, realizing he was speaking not just about Emily, but about the unprocessed weight of his own trauma. Let us honor her memory, face everything. We unveil the shadows collectively rather than allow them to dictate our futures. Their hearts steadying, a new clarity emerged. They absorbed the silence of the woods around them as an ally rather than an foe, a space now alive with potential. With Max at their sides, they resolved to return to the community not as outsiders but as advocates of healing, ready to confront the past that had haunted them all. We can do this, Jake affirmed, determination spilling from his newfound conviction. Together, they could awaken the town from its slumber of denial, reclaim the lost image of Emily, and challenge the darkness that sought to engulf them all. As they prepared to leave the clearing, Jake felt a resolute calm wash over him. He was finally stepping into the light, no longer haunted by the shadows of his past nor the silence surrounding Emily. Instead, he was filled with a solid confidence as they turned toward the path home, a path that now felt open, inviting all their pain, healing, and hope into a collective reckoning. Together they walked, with Jake embracing his role not just as the soldier, but as a guardian of the truth, ready to confront the story of Emily in all its grim beauty. In that moment, beneath the expanse of interlacing branches, Jake realized he would no longer be defined solely by his battles. He was not just reclaiming the narrative for Emily, he was reclaiming himself, transforming from a soldier lost among his scars into a resolute advocate for truth and healing. Now, more than ever, his journey was one of profound personal achievement, growing into a role that felt destined for him all along. The sun sank lower against the horizon, marking the end of one chapter and the promising dawn of another. It was time to return and ignite the conversations long buried in silence. You need to subscribe now to join Jake and Mia on their journey of revealing the truth. Don't miss the exclusive emotional stories to come. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support the message of healing and hope. Comment below your thoughts on Jake's remarkable transformation and theories about what's next for him and Mia. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this ending and understand the power of confronting one's past. This is the moment to show your support and join us as we uncover the truth together. Don't wait even one more second.